Mariupol is a city of regional significance in southeastern Ukraine, situated on the north coast of the Sea of Azov at the mouth of the Kalmius River. It is the 10th largest city in Ukraine and the second largest in the Donetsk Oblast. Population, 461,810 euro, 2013est. Following the capture of Donetsk city by pro-Russian insurgents associated with the Donetsk People's Republic in 2014, Mariupol was made the provisional administrative center of Donetsk Oblast. The city was retaken on June 13, 2014 by government troops and has been under heavy bombardment, and the fighting has intensified as of August 2015. Mariupol was founded on the site of a former Cossack encampment named Kalmius. It was granted city rights in 1778. Mariupol has been a center for the grain trade, metallurgy, and heavy engineering. The Ilyich steel and iron works and Azovstal propelled Mariupol onto the European stage in the 20th century as one of the largest and most productive plants. Mariupol played a key role in the industrialization of Ukraine. Between 1948 and 1989 the city was known as Zhdanov due to the Soviet authorities frequently renaming cities after communist leaders. Today, Mariupol remains a center for industry, as well as higher education and business, a legal center, and the economic engine of Pryazovia. History Pre-settlement during the late Middle Ages through the early modern period, here taken from the 12th through the 16th century. Mariupol lay within a broader region that was largely devastated and depopulated by intense conflict among surrounding peoples, including the Crimean Tatars, the Nogai Horde, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, and Muscovy. By the middle of the 15th century much of the region north of the Black Sea and Azov Sea was annexed to the Crimean Khanate and became a dependency of the Ottoman Empire. East of the Dnieper River marked a desolate steppe, stretching to the Sea of Azov, where the lack of water made early settlement precarious, and, lying near the Kalmius Trail, the region was subject to frequent raids and plundering by the Tatar tribes which prevented the RI unregistered trademark's permanent settlement, keeping it sparsely populated or an entirely uninhabited no-mana unregistered trademark's land under Tatar rule. Hence it was known as the Wild Fields or the Deserted Plains. In this region of the Eurasian steppe lands the Cossacks emerged as a distinct peoples in the late 15th and early 16th centuries. Below the Dnieper Rapids were the Zaporozhian Cossacks, composed of freebooters organized into small, loosely knit, as well as highly mobile groups that practiced both pastoral and nomadic living. The Cossacks would regularly penetrate the steppe for fishing and hunting as well for migratory farming and herding of livestock. Their independence from governmental and landowner authority attracted and enlisted large numbers of fugitive peasants and serfs fleeing the Polish-Euro-Lithuanian Commonwealth and Muscovy. The isolation of the region was increased further by the Treaty of Constantinople, which provided that there should be no settlements or fortifications on the coast of the Azov Sea to the mouth of the Mius River. Moreover, in 1709 in response to a Cossack alliance with Sweden against Russia, Tsar Peter the Great ordered the destruction of the Zaporozhian central stockade and their complete expulsion from the area, without allowance for their return. In 1733, however, Russia was preparing for a new military campaign against the Ottoman Empire, so it allowed the return of the Zaporozhians, although the territory officially belonged to Turkey. Under the terms the Agreement of Lubny of 1734, the Zaporozhians regained all their former lands and, in return, they were to serve in the Russian army during wartime. They were also permitted to build a new stockade on the Dnieper River, though the terms prohibited them from erecting fortifications, allowing only for living quarters. Upon their return, the Zaporozhian population in these lands was extremely sparse, and in an effort to establish a measure of control, they introduced a structure of districts. The nearest to modern Mariupol was the Kalmykia District, but its border did not extend to the mouth of the Kalmius River, although this area had been part of its migratory territory. After 1736, the Zaporozhian and the Don Cossacks came into conflict over the area, resulting in Tsarina Elizabeth issuing a decree in 1746 marking the Kalmius River as the divide between the two Cossack hosts. Sometime after 1738, the treaties of Belgrade, Nia, and the Russian-Turkish Convention of 1741, and likely concurrent or following the land survey of 1743 to 1746, the Zaporozhian Cossacks established a military outpost on a Oeth high promontory right, west bank of the Kalmius River. Though the details of its construction and history are obscure, excavations revealed Cossack and other artifacts within the enclosure of approximately 120 meters by 120 meters. The outpost was likely a modest structure in that it lay within the territory of the Ottoman Empire, and the constructions of fortifications on the Sea of Azov were prohibited by the Treaty of Nia. The last Tatar raid, launched in 1769, covered a vast area, overrunning the New Russia province with a huge army and severe winter weather. It destroyed the Kalmius fortifications and burned all the Cossack winter lodgings. In 1770, the Russian government, not waiting for the end of the war with Turkey, moved its border with the Crimean Khanate southwest by more than 200 kilometers, initiating the Dnieper fortified line, thereby laying claim to the region, including the site of the future Mariupol, from the Ottoman Empire. Following the victory of the Russian forces in the Russo-Turkish War, the Treaty of Kar 1/4 Apicavolt 1/4 Kakanaka eliminated the endemic threat from the Crimea and thereby terminated the historical justification of the Ukraine as a borderland. In 1775 Zaporizhia was incorporated into the new Russia Governorate, and part of the land claimed by the establishment of the Dnieper fortified line was incorporated in the newly re-established Azov Governorate. Settlement After the Russo-Turkish War, the governor of the Azov Governorate, Vasily A. Chertkov, reported to Grigory Potemkin on February 23, 1776 that at this location existed the ruins of ancient Dumorka, and in 1778 he planned the new town of Pavlovsk. However, on September 29, 1779 the city of Mariupol of Kalmius County was founded on the site. For the Russian authorities the city was named after the Russian Empress Maria Feodorovna. However, the city was named de facto after the Greek settlement of Mariupol that was a suburb of Bakhtysaray, the name of which derived from the Hodegetria icon of the Holy Theotokos and Virgin Mary. Subsequently in 1780 arrived the great influx of Orthodox Greeks from Crimea to the area of Mariupol. In 1782 it was an administrative seat of the county in the Azov Governorate of the Russian Empire with a population of 2,948 inhabitants. In the early 19th century the customs, a church parish school, the Port Authorities building, and county religious school, and two privately founded girls' schools appear in the city. In the 1850s the population grew to 4,600 and the city had 120 shops and 15 wine cellars. After construction of the railway line from Yurtseva in 1882, much of the wheat grown in the Yakota and Izlav Governorate and coal from the Donetsk basin were exported via the port of Mariupol, which served as a key funding source for opening a hospital, public library, electric power station, and urban water supply system. Mariupol remained a local trading center until 1898, when the Belgian subsidiary SA Providence Rus opened a steelworks in Sartana near Mariupol. The company incurred heavy losses and by 1902 went into bankruptcy, owing 6 million francs to the Providence Company and needing to be refinanced by the Banque de l'Union Parisienne. The mills brought cultural diversity to Mariupol as immigrants, mostly peasants from all over Empire, moved to the city looking for a job and a better life. The number of workers employed increased to 5,400 persons. In 1914 the population of Mariupol reached 58,000. However, the period from 1917 onwards saw a continuous decline in population and industry due to the February Revolution and the Civil War. In 1933 a new steelworks was built along the Kalmius River. During World War II, the city was occupied by Nazi Germany from October 8, 1941 to September 10, 1943. During this time there was tremendous damage to the city and many people were killed. The Jewish population was wiped out by two operations specifically aimed at murdering them. From 1948 to 1989 the city was named Zhdanov after the Soviet politician Andrei Zhdanov. Current conflict Following the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution, pro-Russian and anti-revolution protests erupted across eastern Ukraine. This unrest later evolved into a war between the Ukrainian government and the separatist forces of the Donetsk People's Republic. In May of that year, a battle between the two sides broke out in Mariupol after it briefly came under DPR control. The city was eventually recaptured by government forces, and on June 13 Mariupol was proclaimed the temporary capital of Donetsk Oblast until the city of Donetsk could be recaptured. The city remained peaceful until the end of August, when an offensive by pro-Russian forces from the east came within 16 kilometers of it. A ceasefire between the two sides was agreed to on September 5, halting that offensive. Despite this ceasefire, minor skirmishes continued on the outskirts of Mariupol in the following months. To protect the city, government forces established 3 defense lines on its outskirts, deployed heavy artillery, and large amounts of Army and National Guard troops. An assault on Mariupol was launched on January 24, 2015 by the pro-Russian rebel forces associated with the Donetsk People's Republic. The city was defended by the Ukrainian government forces. According to OSCE Special Monitoring Mission to Ukraine, on January 24 Grad rockets fired from positions occupied by rebel forces dropped on populated areas of Mariupol, killing 30 people. The Grad rockets originated from a northeasterly direction, and the Uragan rockets from an easterly direction, both controlled by the Donetsk People's Republic. City features: Mariupol is the second most populous city in the Donetsk Oblast, and is amongst the 10 most populous cities in Ukraine. See the list of cities in Ukraine. Architecture Old Mariupol is an area defined by the coast of the Sea of Azov to the south, by the Kalmius River to the east, to the north by Shevchenko Boulevard, and to the west by Metallurgy Avenue. It is built up mainly of a few-story houses and has kept its pre-revolutionary architecture. Only Artem Street and Lenin Avenue were built after World War II and are considered modern buildings. The central area of Mariupol is made up almost entirely of administrative and commercial buildings, including a city council building, post office, the Lukov Cinema, Mariupol Humanitarian University, Pryazov State Technical University, the Korolenko Central City Library, and many large shops. The architecture of other residential areas is not particularly distinct or original and consists of typical 5- or 9-story houses. The term Cheremishki carries a special meaning in Russian culture and now also in Ukrainian. It usually refers to the newly settled parts of a city. The city's residential area covers 9.82 million square meters. The population density is 19.3 square meters per inhabitant. The share of privatized housing in 2003 was 76.3%. Main streets Avenues: Lenin, Metallurgy, Budovelnikov, Ilyich, Nakhimov, Peremoi, Lunin, Leningradsky. Streets: Artem, Tarova, Arpatov, Kuprin, Uritsky, Bakhivantshy, Gagarin, Kalpinsky, Mumin Sibiryak, Taganrog, Olympic, Azovstal, Makamazay, Karl Liebknecht, Boulevards, Shevchenko, Komsomol, Primor, Khmelnytsky, etc. Squares: Administrative, Nzalizhnesty, Peremoi, Mashinobdovnikov, Lenin's Komsomol, Vyzvolenia. In December 1991, by a decision of the City Council of Mariupol, the following streets in an old part of the city reverted to their pre-revolutionary names: 1st of May Street to Hiryevska Street, 3rd International Street to Tarova Street, Alpatov Street to Italians Street, Donbas Street to Mykolaievska Street, Ivan Franko Street to Fontana Street, Karl Liebknecht Street to Metropolit Street, Karl Marx Street to Greek Street, Komsomol Street to Yevatoria Street, Krasnomiarskaya Street to Gotvierska Street, Quinshai Street to Karasivska Street, Proletarian Street to Kafeska Street, Rose Luxemburg Street to Zemska Street, Soviet Street to Harlem-Pie Street. Between 1990 to 2000 the following streets and areas were renamed: Sergo Street to Jacob Gugel Street to Euro in honor of the head of construction and the first director of Azovstal, Republic Lane to University Street, Constitution Square to Mashinobdovnikov Square near Neptune Swimming Pool to Nzalizhnesty Square. See also the list of streets and squares of Mariupol. Parks City Square, Extreme Park, Gurov's Meadow Park, City Garden, Veselka Park, named as the Rainbow, Azovstal Park, Petrovsky Park, Primasky Park. Monuments Mariupol has monuments to Taras Shevchenko, Vladimir Vysotsky, Quincy, Vladimir Lenin, and many other famous persons. Monuments in honor of the liberation of Donbas, the metallurgists, and others can also be found in the city. There are also monuments to Makar Marza, Hoy Yuriovich Hurban, K.P. Arpatov, Tolya Balabaka, to seamen Euro commandos, pilots VG Semnishine and N.E. Lavitsky, to soldiers of the Soviet 9th Aviation Division, to victims of political repressions of 1930 Euro 1950, etc. During the Soviet period, the central square of the city featured a monument to Andrei Zhdanov, after whom the city was named for many years. The artists V. Konstantinov and L. Kuzmenkov are the sculptors of some of the monuments, including the monument to Metropolitan Ignatiy, the founder of Mariupol. City holidays Holidays exclusive to Mariupol include, Day of Liberation of the City from Fascist Aggressors, Day of the City, Day of the Metallurgist, a professional holiday for many citizens, Day of the Machine Engineer, Day of the Seaman, and other professional holidays. Hotels and nightclubs Hotels in the city include Grand Hotel, Spartak, Guest Villa Hiroshu, Nash Kitochok, Maryak, Chaka, Iris Hotel, and Brigantina. Nightclubs in the city include Barbares, Zebra, Coral, Imperial, Private Club Yes, Egoist, El Gusto, Holiday Romance, Lido, Crazy Mom, and Divan. Coat of arms The modern coat of arms of Mariupol was confirmed in 1989. It is described in heraldic terms as, Perfes wavy argent and azure, on an anchor or, accompanied by the figure 1778 of the last. The gold anchor has a ring on top. The number 1778 indicates the year of the Citia Euro unregistered trademark S founding. The argent represents steel. The azure, the sea. The anchor, the port. And the ring, metallurgy. Administrative division. Mariupol is divided into 4 neighborhoods or rayons. Ilyichovsky rayon is the northern part of the city, the largest and most industrialized neighborhood in the city. It is commonly known as the Zavod of Ilyich. Ordzhonikidze rayon is the eastern part of the city, on the left bank of the river Kalmius. Its common name is the left bank. Primasky rayon is the southern area of the city, on the coast of the Azov Sea. The everyday name of the central part this neighborhood is simply the port. Zhdanov rayon is the central city rayon. Its everyday name is simply the center, or the city. The Kalmius River separates the Ordzhonikidze rayon from the remaining 3 rayons. The population is mostly concentrated in the Zhdanov and Primasky rayons. The Ilyichovsky rayon houses the large Ilyich steel mill and the Azov mash manufacturing plant. The Ordzhonikidze is home to the Azovstal metallurgic combine and the Coke factory. The settlements of Stary Krim and Sartana are located in close proximity to the city limits of Mariupol. Demographics. As of December 1, 2014, the city's population was 477,992. Over the last century the population has grown nearly 12-fold. The city is populated by Ukrainians, Russians, Pontic Greeks, Belarusians, Armenians, Jews, etc. The main language is Russian. The average annual population decline of city from 2010 to 2014 is 0.6%. The death rate is 15.5%. Ethnic structure Ethnic Ukrainians make up the largest percentage but less than half of the population. The second greatest ethnicity is Russian. The city is home to the largest population of Pontic Greeks in Ukraine at 21,900, with 31,400 more in the 6 nearby rural areas, totaling about 70% of the Pontic Greek population of the area and 60% for the country. Ethnic structure in 2002. Language structure There is a large number of Greek-speaking people in the city, but the city is predominantly Russian-speaking. From 60% to 80% of Ukrainian language dwellers communicate through so-called Surzyk, due to the large influence of Russian culture. Most Greek-speaking villages in the region speak a dialect called Rumiakar, that is, a branch of Pontic Greek. About 17 villages speak this language today. Modern scholars distinguish 5 subdialects of Rumiakar according to their similarity to Standard Modern Greek. This was derived from the dialect of the original Pontic settlers from the Crimea. Although Rumiakar is often described as a Pontic dialect, the situation is more nuanced. Arguments can be brought both for Rumiakar's similarity to Pontic Greek and to the Northern Greek dialects. In the view of Maxim Kisilia, while the Rumiakar dialect shares some features with both the Pontic Greek and the Northern Greek dialects, it is better considered on its own terms as a separate Greek dialect, or even a group of dialects. The village of Anadol speaks Pontic proper, being settled from the Pontos in the 19th century. Native language of the population as of the All-Russian Empire census in 1897, along with those speaking Rumiakar, there were and are a number of Tatar-speaking Orthodox villages, the so-called Urums, which is the Tatar term for Rumeos or Rumu. This subdivision had already occurred in Crimea before the settlement of the Azovstal steppe region by Pontic Greeks, which began following the fall of the Empire of Trebizond in northeastern Anatolia in 1461, but on a larger scale after the end of the Russo-Turkish War in 1779, as part of the Russian policy to populate and develop the region while depriving the Crimea of an economically active part of its population. Though Greek and Tatar-speaking settlers lived separately, the language of the Urums was the lingua franca of the region for a long time, being called the language of the bazaar. There are also a number of settlements of other ethnic communities, including Germans, Bulgarians, and Albanians. After the October Revolution of 1917, a Rumaic revival occurred in the region. The Soviet administration established a Greek Rumaic theatre, several magazines and a newspaper, and a number of Rumaic language schools. The best Rumaic poet Georgy Kostoprov created a Rumaic poetic language for his work. This process was reversed in 1937 as Kostoprov and many other Rumaics and Urums were killed as part of Joseph Stalin's national policies. A large percentage of the population was transported to gulags. A new attempt to preserve a sense of ethnic Rumaic identity started in the mid-1980s. The Ukrainian scholar Andrei Biletsky created a new Slavonic alphabet for Greek speakers. Though a number of writers and poets make use of this alphabet, the population of the region rarely uses it. The Rumaic language is declining rapidly, most endangered by the Standard Modern Greek which is taught in schools and the local university. The latest investigations by Alexandra Gromova demonstrate that there is still hope that elements of the Rumaic population will continue to use the dialect. Language structure in 2002. Employment equals, about 59% of the people whose occupation is in the national economy work in industry and 11% of them in transportation. As of July 1, 2009, the official rate of unemployment in the city stood at 2%. The figure, however, only includes people registered as unemployed in the local job center. The real unemployment rate is therefore higher. Historic unemployment rate in Mariupol, €1 as of July 1. Geography and ecology. Geography Mariupol is to the south of the Donetsk area, on the coast of the Azov Sea, at the mouth of the river Kalmius. The city occupies an area of 166.0 areas squared, with suburbs, that is, the territories subordinated to the Mariupol City Council, 244.0 km squared. The downtown area is 106.0 km squared, while the area of parks and gardens is 80.6 km squared. The city is mainly built on land that is made of Solonetsk cheranisms, with a significant amount of underground subsoil water that frequently leads to landslides. Climate Mariupol has a humid continental climate with warm summers and cold winters. The average annual precipitation is 511 mm. Agri-climatic conditions allow the cultivation in the suburbs of Mariupol thermophilic agricultural crops having long vegetative periods. However, water resources in the region are insufficient, and consequently ponds and water basins are used for the needs of the population and industry. In the winter, the wind direction is mainly east, while in the summer, the wind is from the north. Ecology. Mariupol leads Ukraine in the volume of emissions of harmful substances by industrial enterprises. Recently, the city's leading enterprises have begun to address the ecological problems. Thus, over the last 15 years industrial emissions have fallen nearly in half. Due to stable production by the majority of the large enterprises, the city constantly experiences environmental problems. At the end of the 1970s, Zhdanov ranked third in the USSR in the quantity of industrial emissions. In 1989, including all enterprises, the city had 5,215 sources of atmospheric pollution, producing 752,900 tons of harmful substances a year. Even given some easing of the maximum permissible concentrations in the state's industrial activity, many pollution limits were still exceeded: 1.3 times for ammonia, 1.3 times for phenol, 2.0 times for formaldehyde. In the residential areas adjoining the industrial giants, concentrations of benzapyran reach 9 times the maximum concentration limits. Fluoric hydrogen, ammonia, and formaldehyde reach 3 to 5 times the maximum concentration limits. Dust and oxides of carbon and hydrogen sulfide are 6 to 8 times the maximum concentration limits. And dioxides of nitrogen are 2 to 3 times the maximum concentration limits. The maximum concentration limit has been exceeded on phenol by 17x, and on benzapyran by 13-14x. Ill-considered arrangements of the construction platforms of Azovstal and Mariupol have led to extensive wind-borne emissions into the central areas of Mariupol. Wind intensity and geographical flatness offer relief from the accumulation of long-standing pollutants, somewhat easing the problem. The nearby Sea of Azov is in distress. The catch of fish in the area has been reduced by orders of magnitude over the last 40 years. The environmental protection activity of the leading enterprises in Mariupol costs millions of hryvnias, but it appears to have little effect on the city's long-standing environmental problems. Government and politics. The Mariupol electorate traditionally supports the left and pro-Russian political parties. At the turn of the 21st century, the Party of Regions numerically prevailed in the city council, followed by the Socialist Party of Ukraine. In the presidential elections of 2004, 91.1% of the city voted for Viktor Yanukovych and 5.93% for Viktor Yushchenko. In the 2006 parliamentary elections, the city voted for the Party of Regions with 39.72% of the votes. The Socialist Party of Ukraine 20.38%, the Natalia Vitrenko bloc 9.53%, and the Communist Party of Ukraine 3.29%. In the 2014 parliamentary elections, opposition bloc won more than 50% of the votes. The seats of the city's two electoral districts were won by Sea Matviyenkov and Sea Tarata. The mayor of city is Yuri Kotluby. Economy. Industry. There are 56 industrial enterprises in Mariupol under various plans of ownership. The city's industry is diverse, with heavy industry dominant. Mariupol is home to major steel mills and chemical plants. There is also an important seaport and a railroad junction. The largest enterprises are Ilyich Iron and Steel Works, Azovstal, Azovmash Holding, and the Mariupol Sea Trading Port. There are also shipyards, fish canneries, and various educational institutions with studies in metallurgy and science. The total industrial production of the city for 8 months in 2005 was 21,378.2 million hryvnias, compared to 1999 euro 6,169.806 million hryvnias. This is 37.5% of the total production for Donetsk Oblast. The leading business of the city is ferrous metallurgy, which makes up 93.5% of the city's income from industrial production. The annual output estimates are in millions of tons of iron, steel, rolled iron, and agglomerate. Open society. Alike Mariupol Steel and Iron Works is an integrated mill, with all the facilities for a full metallurgical cycle. Housing around 100,000 workers, it is the second largest in Ukraine, after Azovstal. The company is the collective property of the Society of Tenants. The head of the Board of Enterprise is the People's Deputy, Volodymyr Boyko. The enterprise has multiple structural divisions: management of public catering and trade, a chemist's network, Ilyich farm, more than 50 agro shops, the office of the Komsomol mines, various machine-building enterprises in the Sea Oblast, Mariupol International Airport, and the Mariupol Television Network. Open society. Azovstal is another integrated mill, the third largest in Ukraine in terms of gross revenue. Its production varies in millions of tons of pig iron, steel, and rolled iron annually. The company's general director is Azovstal. Azovstal is closely connected with the Mariupol Coke Works Markakim, which serves as the supplier of coke. Open society. Azovmash is the largest machine-building enterprise in Ukraine, specializing in production of equipment for mining, metallurgical complexes, tank cars, port cranes, boilers, fuel fillers, etc. The president is Oleksandr Savkyuk. The enterprise was formerly owned by the state and was privatized by System Capital Management, a Donetsk financial and economic group. Azov Ship Repair Factory is the largest enterprise of its class on the Sea of Azov, also owned by System Capital Management. Open society. Mariupol Sea Trading Port is the largest seaport in eastern Ukraine, through which is transported large quantities of various products such as coal, metal, mechanical engineering products, varieties of ores and grains from and to various cities such as Donetsk, Kharkiv, Luhansk, and the near regions of the Russian Federation. Azov Sea Shipping Company, which was owned until 2003 by the Donbas Merchant Marine Fleet, is now also under the ownership of System Capital Management. Donbas Merchant Marine is now a bankrupt enterprise which formerly operated out of ports on the Sea of Azov such as Mariupol, Berdyansk, and Taganrog. The above-mentioned enterprises, along with a plethora of others not mentioned, are located in the free economic zone of Azov. Transportation. Mariupol has transportation including bus transportation, trolley buses, trams, and fixed-route taxis. The city is connected by railways, a seaport and the airport to other countries and cities. Urban electric transport, trams, streetcars Euro 12 routes, trolley buses Euro 14 routes. Buses mainly the private minibuses which are carrying out transportation in city, on suburban and long-distance routes. Road service station and a suburban auto station. Railway station Mariupol. The city is connected by the railway to Donbas. A marina in the area of Sea Trading Port. Mariupol International Airport. Construction. Industrial construction prevails. The mass building of inhabitable quarters within the city terminated in the 1980s. Mainly under construction now are comfortable habitations. The city's construction industry for 9 months of 2005 executed a volume of civil contract and building works of 304.4 million hryvnias. The city density on this parameter is 22.1%. Communications. In the city all leading Ukrainian mobile communications carriers are operational. During Soviet times in the city, 10 automatic telephone exchanges were operational. 6 digital automatic telephone exchanges were recently added. Finances. The GDP of the city in 2004 was at 22,769,400. It is listed in the state budget as at 83,332,000. The city is one of the largest contributors to the Ukrainian national budget. The GPA of the city is a 1,262.04 a month, one of the highest in the country. The average pension in the city is a 423.15. Commercial debts in the city were reduced in 2005 to 1.1% or a 5.1 million. Income from services rendered for 9 months of 2005 was 860.4 million and the volume of retail trade for the same period was 838.7 million. The city's enterprises for 9 months of 2005 recorded a positive financial result of $3.2 billion, which is 23.6% more than in the prior year. Culture = cultural institutions = theaters, Donetsk Regional Russian Drama Theater. In 2003, the oldest theater in the region celebrated its 125th anniversary. For its contribution to the spiritual education of theater, in 2000 it was awarded the laureate in the competition a Gold Scythiana, Cinemas, Pobeda, Savona, Multiplex, Palaces of Culture, Metallurgy of Ilyich Steel and Iron Works, Azovstal of Azovstal Steel and Iron Works, Iskra of Azov Mash Machine Builder Concern, Markokim, Moyakov, Stroitl, Palace of Children's and Youth Art, Municipal Palace of Culture. Showrooms and museums, Mariupol Museum of Regional, Quinzhai Art Exhibition, Museum of Ethnography, Museum halls of the industrial enterprises and their divisions, establishments and the organizations of city, and others. Libraries, Korolenko Central Library, Gorky Central Childrina Euro Unregistered Trademark S Library, Serafimovich Library, and also, Gaida Library, Honkar Library, Rushevsky Library, Krupskaya Library, Kuprin Library, Lemuakrenka Library, Marshak Library, Morozov Library, Novikov Proboy Library, Pushkin Library, Svetlov Library, Turgenov Library, Franco Library, Shchekhov Library, Shukovsky Library, the libraries of industrial enterprises, establishments, and the organizations of the city. In the surrounding environs of city, on the shore of Sea of Azov, archaeology monuments were excavated from Neolithic burial grounds dating from the end of the 3rd millennium BC. During excavations, over 120 skeletons were discovered. Found near them were stone and bone instruments, beads, shell works from shellfishes, and animal teeth. Art and literature creative organizations of artists, Union of Journalists of Mariupol, the Literary Union Azov, and others. Works of Mariupol poets and writers, N. Berilov, A. Belis, G. Mraz, A. Shapermy, A. Savchenko, V. Kor, N. Harakas, L. Kiryakov, L. Belazarova, P. Bisanov, and A. Zaruba are written in the Russian, Ukrainian, and Greek languages. Presently, 10 members of the National Union of Writers of Ukraine live in the city. Religious communities 11 churches of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchy, 3 churches of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Kiev Patriarchy, 52 various religious communities. The city is adorned by the St. Nicholas Cathedral and other churches of the city, namely, St. Nicholas Street Michael St. Preobrazheny, St. Ilya Uspensky, St. Vladimir Street Ambrosi Optinsky Street Valenty St. George, Nativity of the Virgin Mary St. Boris and Gleb St. Kremujul. In addition to churches, there are 3 mosques around the city. Media and entertainment more than 20 local newspapers work mostly Russian language based, including, a Pryazovsky Rabotya, a Mariupolskaya Zyza, a Mariupolskaya Ndalur, a Ilyich, an Azovstal, an Azovsky Moryarka, an Azovsky Mashina Stroitla, 12 wireless stations, 7 regional television companies and channels, Broadcasting Company A Signal, Broadcasting Company A MTVA, Broadcasting Company A TV7A, Broadcasting Company A Intermariupol, Broadcasting Company A Formata, and others, retransmitting about 15 state channels. Tourism and recreation Tourist interest are mainly on the coast of the Sea of Azov. Around the city the strip of resort settlements was pulled, Mlykino, Urzov, Yalta, Sedovo, Bezymenoir, Sapino, Belozere Kosa, etc. Travel companies operating are. The first resorts were opened in the city in 1926. Along a sea here during 16 the narrow bar of sandy beaches stretches for 1 km. Water temperature in the summer ranges from 22 to 24 degrees Celsius. The duration of the bathing season is 120 days. Sports Mariupol is the hometown of the nationally famous swimmer Oleksandr Sidorenko who lives in the city. The city's steel industry sponsors the Ilyich Football Club, with a great sport traditions and a history of participation at the European-level competitions. The water polo team, the Ilyich, is the undisputed champion of Ukraine. It has won the Ukrainian Championship 11 times. Every year it plays in the European Champion Cup and Russian Championship. Azovstal canoeing club on the river Kalmius. Vitali Upishkna Euro 3rd place in the World Cup and the 200 Mk2. Azovmash basketball club, similarly to the Ilyich water polo club, has numerous national championship titles. Significant successes were obtained as well by the Mariupol schools of boxing, Greco-Roman wrestling, artistic gymnastics, and other types of sport. Sport building of city, Ilyich Stadium, an Azovstal sports complex, Azovstal Stadium, Azovmash sports complex, a Sadko sports complex, a Vodnika sports complex, a Neptunia public pool, an Azovstal chess club, etc. Education. 81 general educational establishments are operational, including 67 comprehensive schools, 2 grammar schools, 3 lyceums, 4 evening replaceable schools, 3 boarding schools, 2 private schools, 11 professional educational institutions, and 94 children's preschool establishments. 3 higher education establishments, Pryazovsky State Technical University, Mariupol State University, Azovsky Institute of Marine Transport. Public organizations. There are about 300 public associations, including 22 trade union organizations, about 40 political parties, 16 youth groups, 4 women's organizations, 37 associations of veterans and disabled, and 134 national and cultural societies. There is a general consulate of the Republic of Greece as well as the Republic of Cyprus in Mariupol. Health service. There are 70 medical and medical health establishments in the city, Euro hospitals, polyclinics, the station of blood transfusion, station of urgent medicare, sanatoriums, preventive clinics, regional center of social maintenance of pensionaries and invalids, city centers, gastroenterology, thoracic surgery, bleedings, pancreatic, microsurgery of the eye. Central Pool Hospital on a water carriage. Notable people: Arkhip Quinzai, Russian landscape painter of Greek ethnicity, Ekaterina Pyrogovskaya, Russian Cirque du Soleil clown, Vyacheslav Polozov, Soviet opera singer, born in Mariupol, Igor Radivillov, Ukraine gymnastics team member at the London 2012 Olympics and men's vault bronze medalist, Alexander Sakharov, Jewish dancer, teacher, and choreographer, Voron Vyacheslav, Russian and Ukrainian singer-songwriter, singer, composer, music producer, Anna Zatonskin, chess player, Andrei Zhdanov, Soviet politician, Nikki Benz, actress. See also, Greeks in Ukraine. References. External links, in English, welcome-to-mariupol.org.ua Welcome to Mariupol. A Euro support and assistance for foreign visitors, English, Ilyich Mariupol Steel and Iron Works, English, Photos of Mariupol, English, Photo Mariupol, Panoramic photos of Mariupol in 360 degrees, English, The Murder of the Jews of Mariupol during World War II, at Yad Vashem website, in Ukrainian, Historical buildings in Mariupol Old Town, in Russian, Entertaining information portal of Mariupol, Russian, Mariupol City Catalogue of shops, Russian, Mariupol City Catalogue, Russian, Babby Melenkino and others on YouTube, Modern cultural background of Azov coastal area.